I think what is lost in our society is conversation. You can see out there is no longer a conversation. It's not an exchange of perspective. It's a debate all the time. We are so different and yet freakishly the same. Hello there.
Hey, how's it going?
Awesome. I'm so happy to be here with you and all of you, viewers, listeners.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody, welcome to the conversation.
Cheers.
All right. Yeah, I think it would be helpful for everybody to kind of know a little bit about what you do and what I do, and then kind of how we got started working together, collaborating together, teaming up, and what are we doing, and why is this called The Conversation? I can come back to some of those questions, but tell me a little bit about you and your practice, Sabrina, and what you do as a health coach, and let's start with that.
All right. So I'm a health coach. I'm also an energy coach. I kind of merge the two, and also hypnose sometimes when needed to the mix. It's very unique perspective, a unique way of coaching. And it's just great.
Great, very great, Lasse.
Very great. Why did I merge energy coaching to the health coaching? Is because for me, energy is part of being healthy. If your energy system is all in harmony, you will get there better. You will be healthier much faster. So I teach you about all your energy systems. Maybe not all of them, but we explore all of it that you need, all that I sense that you need, and from what you tell me, and we work with that. So it's like this. It's like the bridge from the knowing and the doing. It has to be. It's like smaller than if you would do it with only your mind, using only the words, which can be very tricky sometimes because it's not the knowing the problem. So I'm not teaching people anything beside energy. When I'm doing health coaching, I'm not teaching you anything that you don't know. Well, I might, but it's not the objective. It's like I give you a lot of ingredients and you make the whole recipe. You make your own recipe. So with the energy in there, in the mix, it makes it way faster and way smoother to get to where you want to be. Yeah. So that's what I do.
Excellent. And the name of your practice is?
It's Mind to Love. Because you get to mind to love yourself. You get to mind to love everybody. And you get to love, well, you don't have to love everybody, obviously, but you get to mind to love with compassion.
Yes. All right, cool. And yeah, for me, I am the founder of two different things. So I have, obviously, my health coaching practice is the number one that we're talking about in this podcast, which is the whole life journey. And really what my goal is with my coaching practice is when we have some similarities and differences, but I come at it from a place of wholeness and story. And so I want to bring wholeness to people's lives, and it's wholeness in mind, in heart, in soul, and in body. And so it's really bringing all of those pieces of the equation together. And we talk a lot about health coaching as being a guide on the side, and just really coming alongside people. And like you said, it's not about telling people what to do. It's about listening to your story, listening to where you are, listening to whatever your goals are, whatever symptoms you might be experiencing, and really just digging down and getting to the root of what is causing these things. And so we explore that together with our clients, both of us, in different ways. And for me, energy became a really important part of the equation in my own story with my own health, because of my own crazy, messed up health situation that I found myself in really for the last decade. So it's been like a 10 years of discovering all these different things, and really until I found the energy equation, I really didn't have all of the tools that I needed. So thank you, Sabrina, for that, because it's such a beautiful gift to have, because that has in turn led me to becoming a Qigong instructor and adding that as a part to my practice, plus a few tools here and there that I can use with my clients, if that's something that they want to explore, because it's such an invaluable thing. I think, because we talk about primary food and secondary food. And then I think if energy is not a part of the equation, then we're really, I think, it's like you said, it is the direct line to the faster path, and it can really, I think, set you up for the biggest amount of success that you can possibly have. But if like you said, if you don't want to do those things, there's other options, there's other things that we can do. It's no pressure. It's really about our clients' journeys and what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And so that's kind of how I see my own health coaching practice. And then I do something else along the side of that, which is called off-grid faith, and we can get to that a little bit later. But we have very different backgrounds, you and I, different stories, but we have really, we got to know each other. And why don't you tell a little bit about our story and kind of how we got connected?
Oh yeah, like we are so different and yet freakishly the same.
Yes.
and that really what I love about you, because we are both the same big picture in mind, compassion, really come from a place of compassion and helping others, and we both want to be part of the world and make it a safest place to be, but we have so different upbringing, different everything, really.
Yeah,
completely different.
Yeah.
And yet we are so the same.
Yeah.
Freakishly the same.
Freakishly the same. Yeah. The things that you and I have in common, it's almost funny, because you'll say something, you're like, oh, I love that. I'm like, I do too. It's like, oh yeah, at this point it's just not surprising, because it just kind of kept going and going and going. And yeah. And the thing I love about you is you have like this openness. We've talked about our different upbringings. I grew up in like a really traditional, I live in Tennessee, I'm from Texas, I'm from the Bible Belt in the South, and you are an atheist, so, and I'm a Bible scholar to boot, so it just makes it a very interesting dynamic, but we have the same values in communication, and we are trying to get to know and understand each other and listen to each other, and it just works. And you're a dear friend, and I love it, and it's just awesome. Yeah, and it's awesome. And so we really kind of put that energy into the conversation, to this show, and to really kind of bringing that to our listeners and to our viewers. And it's just, if you want to say anything about that.
What I love about our conversations is, and you guys will be able to see that for yourself, it's we try to be, I guess what we try to do is to be an inspiration for you guys. We don't have to get, like, I think what is lost in our society is conversation. You can see out there is no longer a conversation. It's not an exchange of perspective. It's a debate all the time. we don't care being right or wrong. Because there's no such thing of being right or wrong, because everybody is right and everybody is wrong at the same time. And that's why it works so well with us. Like, instead of staying into these little walls of this is my perspective and that's the only thing in the world, we don't have the world.
Yeah.
And we find one, we try to break it down.
Yes. That's exactly right. That's exactly
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we will kind of take a peek, like, with, hey, what is your perspective there? How do you see that from your own eyes? And we just exchange our perspective.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, we are richer than before we speak, because now I know your perspective and why you see this way. And if I don't understand, it doesn't make it less valuable,
Yes. Yes.
And it stay true, because that's how you see it, and this is your world. And I love that by our conversation, we get to see each other's worlds, and
Yes.
and so make our world bigger every time, just because of it.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing to bring out too, is this debate versus a dialogue or a
Yes.
discourse, because it really is about that. Is an exchange of ideas, it's an exchange of information, and it's not a competition. And
Yeah.
I think if you're from like a traditional background, especially if it's Christian or Jewish or whatever, uh, it's almost built in, I think, sometimes. And we're missing out on something when we come to the conversation with that in mind, trying to prove a point or trying to convince or trying to persuade, because in debate there's a winner and a loser, and every time you try to win, you both lose. And if we can come and sit down and we can talk with compassion and really listen to each other, then I'm open to learning, and I've learned a lot from you through a lot of these conversations. And it spurs ideas, it spurs thoughts, and it's really I think an invaluable tool to use, and it's something that I think so many people need to learn how to do, because that's where relationship happens, and it's where growth happens, and it's going to lead somewhere beautiful. And if you can just get out of your head and stop trying to do it the way someone else told you, and really just come to it and just be in the moment, and just be in the relationship, be in the conversation, and listen. And if your goal in conversation is to listen, then the other person is going to give that back to you. And so it's a gift that I think that you and I have learned to give each other, and to receive from each other. And it's something that we really want to give to the world, to everyone else, because it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And also, like, the benefit of doing that is not only that you feel better and people around you feel better, but it's also like, this compare and despair situation.
Yeah.
It's like gone.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have any space here when you do that. It doesn't make any sense to compare, because we're not comparable. We're all so different, but yet freakishly the same.
Yes.
So
yeah,
the thing is not trying to compare or to be like someone else. Just be you. So the idea is being ourselves, and yeah, people will like us, people will not like us. It's fine. It's not my responsibility. Right. My responsibility is to show up in the world, and it's this conversation the way I am.
Yes.
And I do this with my intention, and I check my intention before. My intention is to be good and to give you the best of me. And you accept it or you don't. That's up to you. I'm fine either way. I'm not trying to prove you anything. Exactly. Well, except maybe that compassion can go a long way.
Yeah, but I think that's a shared value. I think that's another similarity that we have, because love and compassion and openness and empathy and acceptance and all of these things, I think are really important commonalities that we have that enable us to have this conversation. And I think it's really important to acknowledge each other's journey. And there is, I have a destination in mind, and I'm sure that you do too, but spiritual growth is something that I think is important to both of us, and we experience that a little bit differently. But it really, I think, opens us both up to really sharing that journey with each other, and then wherever it leads. And so I'm able to text you and say, oh my gosh, I was reading the Bible and I just got this, and this is so cool, and because it relates to something that you know and understand in a slightly different context, and it's really a minor variation in language sometimes, so
Yeah.
but that really becomes like a really fun thing for me, and you're not off put by that. You're like not running from the phone going, oh my god, she's talking about this again. It's a real conversation.
Yeah.
And so we share each other's aha moments, and I think it's fantastic.
I just love it. Like, I mean, we both grow so big time, big time, like, for lack of a better word.
It's a great word. I like it.
It's like, yeah, it like tremendously in such a short amount of time, just because we both work on our vulnerability, because that's something we didn't have growing up. We were, and that's the thing that we have with compare and despair. Then we don't accept the way we are, and the more we get to accept who we are and own our stories, and whatever happens, like, I mean, like when you hear those paparazzi things, like they go and dig up the dirt kind of thing, it's like,
Yeah,
what's the point of it, really? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
what is it? Well, wow, I feel so sorry for you. Come, I'll coach you. I can help you with that. I know it.
Yes.
Like, that's what I get. But my story is what it is, and I don't like all of it, but I'm grateful certainly for all of it, even though it was
Yes.
not always the best of times. But it certainly helped me grow and make me who I am now, and open my my mind with a lot of things, and bring more compassion to the world, really, not just for me but for everyone else. And it started with me. I needed to be compassionate with myself to be able to give that back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an excellent point because I was actually thinking about that
Mm.
within the last 24 hours. Is that, if you really want to connect with people and you really want to, have real relationships with people, then you have to love yourself first. You have to have compassion for yourself first, because if we're
Yeah.
failing to connect with the people in our lives, if we're failing to give voice to what we're feeling to the people in our life, then it's because there's something broken here first.
Yeah.
There's something that we need to acknowledge in ourselves, and I think that it definitely begins there. And I think to add to that, what you're saying about the past. I mean, I definitely have my own very tumultuous story as well, and it's not a beautiful story, especially some of the early parts, but. One of the things that we both love and use in our coaching practice is the positive reframe. And I love this tool. But one of the things that you really kind of opened my eyes to through our conversation is that you can take these concepts of positive reframe, and I was using it in a present tense kind of way, and you're like, yeah, you can reframe the past, and it's just like that's such an important piece of the puzzle for me, because it's like really go back and rewrite that story. And so story has really become a huge part of my own life and my own coaching practice, because it
Yeah.
needs to be a part of the conversation that we're having with our clients. And really, don't just take people back. And I think a lot of other people do this. They'll go back and they'll say, okay, let's look at what's happened to you in your past, and then they leave it there.
Ah.
And you can't do that. You need to reframe it. If abuse is a part of your past, if that's a part of your past, then what did it take for you to overcome that? Like what did you get out of that experience, and really focus on who that shaped you to be. Because without the pain, without that hurt, without that heartache, it forms us, and it gives us fortitude, it gives us hope, it gives us strength to move forward, and we can draw that from those past experiences. And I think that's a really important thing when we're talking about the past. And really, we can talk
Yeah.
about forgiveness and really forgiving yourself and loving yourself, and then we show up in the world in much, much more powerful ways when we do that.
Yeah. Heal yourself and heal the world.
Heal
You heal
yourself and
the
heal the
world.
world. Yes, yes. And that's really our objective, with this
Yeah.
with this show, with this podcast, and with what we're doing, teaming up together, and that's what we hope to do.
Yeah. Exactly. There's, when you talked about abuse and stuff, like I can open up with that. Like, that's something that is very familiar to me, because when I was 13, I didn't know anything about sex, and I and there was this guy who was 19 at the time, and he knew very well what it was, and he took advantage of me, and so he took my virginity, and it was horrible. So I didn't talk about it for 13 years, and 13 years later, I got into depression, because that story got too heavy for me to keep. Secrets like that are no good.
Yeah.
Secret at all are no good, and they are just a ball and chain that we drag. But so 13 years later, I got into uh, trying to find something to get the story out, and so I went with the classic ways of going to the psychologist and or psychiatrist. So I had a lot of trying to talk about it, but then what? Like, it's
Yeah.
out, and then what?
Yeah.
And I was stuck there. Like, what do I do with that now? Like, how, you know? And I was left there with nothing. And oh, I've been given a lot of of pills also to numb the pain. Try to numb the pain, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not interested on treating symptoms. What it is interesting, and I think to you too, and not a thing that I'm sure I know
Yeah.
that for you too,
Yes.
we both in symptoms is not interesting. It would just come back and over and over.
That's right.
That's not what we're in for. We love to dig, dig in and find out
Yes.
what is the root of that. So if there's a point to go back in the past, is just to find out where it started, and then take care of it. And it's
Yes.
not that easy to. It's easy to say, but it's not easy to do when you don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
It took me 13 more years to
Yeah.
to get out of it, and to understand how to deal with that story for myself. And energy was a big part of it too. Like, meditation can be a good tip, a good one to start with too. But not everybody. Like, for me, meditation is like, yeah, that's nice, sounds cool, I love it. But how do I do that? My mind is constantly running, and I
Yeah.
don't know how to do that. Stay quiet and all. And I had lots of things to build up to be able to get there. Um, and I had a lot of feedback of people telling me, yeah, it's not just easy, sit down and relax, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's where's the compassion there? You don't understand that it's not my
Right.
perspective.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had a lot of moments like that, like all through my life. Like, okay, so people are telling you what to do, and as if is this something to that is that easy to do, but it's not. It's
No.
not always.
No.
And and what works for one maybe doesn't work for the other. So yeah, I guess we're here to help you with that. To help people to find what works for you, as a unique human being, what works for you. um, and that's an important part of our conversation also,
Yes. Yeah.
and our journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, and I think too, and you talked a lot about symptoms, and I absolutely agree with what you said, because symptoms are just the surface. Those are the things that we see first, and those clue us in to what's going on, elsewhere in the body. And it really is about listening to the stories of our clients, and has been to listening to each other's stories. And I think for a lot of people, they say, especially if you have a background like me and you grew up with the Bible, oh, that's my past. My past is forgiven. It's not about that. That's an obstacle that you're putting up, and a lot of times that you haven't gone back and really dealt with that and healed from it. So there's a healing that still needs to happen. And it's
Yeah.
like, so even if that's the case, we still need to explore that, because and I can speak for myself. I came home from Scotland after 2 years, and I went over there and worked as a missionary for a Christian pastor, and it was a terrifying experience. And if the pastor that I know is watching this, he and I have reconciled 100%, and it's completely forgiven, and we've come to a really good place, and that's wonderful, and I'm thankful for that. But at that time, it was a really heavy experience. You know, there was a lot of abuse that happened, and I felt very marginalized as a woman. I was not allowed to stand within 6 feet of him. And I was not allowed to ride in the same car with him. There's some rules within this religious system that really puts women as the perpetrator of sexual sin. And that's just not okay. And it's not okay. And it made me feel about this small. And so by the time I got home, I was dealing with so much emotional stress and emotional baggage. And I really didn't even realize that until we started studying at IIN to become health coaches. And, you know, we started having this lecture. I mean, I'm sure you remember it. It was on emotional eating. And I had no idea that I had done that until I actually listened to this course. And so there's so much that goes on in our lives that can be underlying what starts to happen into our bodies. And, you know, I didn't figure that out for 10 years, you know, and that's what's so cool about being a coach is that we've had these experiences and we can draw from all these heavy things that we've lived through, that we've experienced and that we've personally felt. And we can come alongside people and we can say, okay, all right, let me hear your story. Let me help you with these symptoms. And so it's not just about healing the body, it's about healing the soul, it's about healing the heart, healing the emotions, and then really moving you forward. Yeah, because that's sustainable health. So we don't want to just give people the quick fix, the Band-Aid. We really want to empower them to be healthy and keep that up long term. And that's your heart, I know, and it's mine as well.
Yeah. All right, folks, I think we're gonna stop for today and stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll see you on the next conversation. If you'd like to join the conversation, we'd love you to be a part. You can go to our Facebook group and we'll have the information and details below. Just click and send us your questions. We'd love to hear from you and join us for the conversation. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.